This video is going to be just a very slight departure from the norm. I want to talk about evolution and the things that I personally see. Evolution itself, it's a subject that evolution is real. We evolved. We can see that. We've been here for a long time. Life's been around for millions, billions of years. Okay, and all the evidence is there to show that. There are people who will say evidence is not available, or it's not true, that there is no evidence of evolution. That is only in an area where there is actually theistic mindsets that are the most incredibly mentally dishonest. Seriously, people that say there is no evolution, you can't prove it to me, are people that just say, I don't want to believe it, I don't care. The Roman Catholic Church knows better than that. The Jewish masters of Genesis know better than that. They all say, well, you know what? This is not literal, for crying out loud. It's metaphoric. The Bible is still true. Evolution is happening. We can see that. We're not going to deny it. But God is just still behind it. Okay, that's at least intelligent. For people to say, no, all of this other stuff that you're coming up with are lies, they're meant to do, I mean, that's just shutting down oneself. So I don't even want to deal with people that say you can't prove evolution. Evolution is real. What I want to do is just talk about my own personal life experiences, that I could sit out there and look at nature, which I've spent, oh my gosh, lots of time out there watching, that makes you go, wow, yeah, this is a terrarium. If somebody made this, that's an evil person. There's some things that go on out there in nature you look at and go, the ugly side is just as strong as the pretty side. Okay, so let's talk about that a little bit. What are the things that we personally experienced that we could look at, that we can infer that because of that we probably evolved without having to have anybody tell us anything? We can look at these on our own. We can utilize our own experiences. Everybody else, shut up. Nobody tells us what to think, what to believe, and what our experience is. We know what our eyes show us. The first one I want to talk to is a couple of things, and we know this. I've just done a little bit of it recently with respect to psychosomatic sounds, listening to thunderstorms and things like that when you're sleeping, rain in the background. And I've got one where the rain is hitting the tent and there's wind blowing, kind of a cold wind and thunderstorm. It's not exactly realistic. It's fairly, I'm not going to hear wind and thunder together like that, but I put it together in such a way that as I crawl into bed at night, and I hear that, it feels like I'm very comfortable. It gives me comfort. You know what? I'll play on that cold sounds, thick blankets, cold room. Don't we all like that? They sell blankets that are weighted blankets just so you feel heaviness on top of you for security. Why would that be? Why would we need to feel that way? Maybe freezing at night all the time when it gets cold, and having something on top of you is just such a comforting feeling that you're like, oh my gosh, I get used to this. Do we feel that way when it's a hot night and you got the air conditioning on? No. What about a regular night? Any other nights? No, it's when it's cold. And then, like, if you have to get up at, midnight, 3 a.m. or something, the house is really cold, temperature's down, let the dogs out, go into the restroom, something like that, and you get chilled, and you come back and you pull those covers on, and it's like, oh, that feeling is just of warming back up and feeling that. Yeah, that to me is like, why would that be there? Why wouldn't it just be, well, it feels okay, feels like everything else, I'm comfortable, but it feels specially like something is really, oh God, this is a good feeling in my soul. Okay, so that makes me think that early ancestors spent a lot of time freezing cold, and that feeling of the blanket was a good thing. Yeah, we got that wired into us over time. What else? The fire at night, sitting around the campfire. You take somebody who's never sat around a campfire, never looked at a fire before, bring them out in the wilderness and set them down there, they'll be poking sticks in it and staring into it all night long. There's something built into a human that's just like the comfort of the fire at night. Sitting around the campfire, not a forest fire, not a fire in the daytime, not a burn barrel, but a campfire at night, sitting around in the darkness with the coyotes off in the distance and maybe the wind blowing. You feel the warmth. There's a comfort there that is just like, oh my gosh, we would have evolved necessarily having fire for protection, for warmth. Mastery of fire was a big deal for humans. Yeah, absolutely. Other creatures are like, oh, yeah, fire, stay away. They might lurk around. They might be hungry, but this is a way to protect. It's a way to cook your food. It's a way to ward off other animals. It's a way to stay warm. Yeah, campfires are a big deal. Streams, maybe when you're thirsty. There are certain nature things that are life-giving or protection that we just like, oh, God, that feels so good. I don't know why. Other things just feel normal, but those things feel really, really good. And they're things that get close to the edge of survival, aren't they? If these blankets aren't there, you're going to freeze. If this fire's not there, you're going to be dinner. The things that we're liking are things that are protecting and saving us. I got another one, and if you've camped outside, you know what this is. Camping, I'm gonna vary that up a little bit. It depends on each person. I've done some very, very primitive camping with, you got your food and your clothes. You're gonna be out there for 3 days in the wet. I have done some very primitive stuff, and I've been in places where, you go to a campground into somebody's big mobile home and they got a full, turkey dinner on Thanksgiving, and you eat that, and it's like, to me, that's not the same thing as camping and eating your food over a little campfire while you're out there, with your collar up against the wind. And there's something different there. One of them puts you in a very primitive place. This is what my experience is, and a lot of people have this experience. If you've camped, you already know it. The food tastes better. It could be just simple, dehydrated macaroni and cheese. This tastes better than that fancy meal I had last week when I was over, somewhere else. There's something about eating outdoors. My dog Willow, I really struggle to feed her dry kibble. She's supposed to eat it. She's a little bit spoiled, but she's very adamant. She was 4 years old when we got her. I don't know what her actual history is, but she's very much a beggar for food, and she will pester you until you're like, oh my God, here, have something. So she gets that way. I can take dry kibble. I take it when I'm out hiking with her. I take her out quite regularly, and I just bring food with me, the dry kibble, and boy, she'll start beg for that. I put it in the bowl. She eats it like she's starving to death. Take that same food home and eat it. She won't. There's snow outside right now in the back where I shovel it off the porch, and there's a pile there. Everything else is melted off, but that pile is there. She will go out there and chomp in that snow and ignore her water bowl right there. She wants to eat snow. There's some weird things I look at and go, how come she prefers to do that outdoors as opposed to indoors? And I think, you know what, that's just like me. I do the same thing. Why would that be? We're all animals that evolved from you're outside, and it's like another thing, walking her along a river. Every time you can get access to it, she's down there getting a drink. It's like, why she won't do that at home. It's like she's in this survival mode. I'm outside, now I need to eat whenever I can, and I need to drink water whenever I can, because it might be, I don't know when. She's on autopilot. She's just functioning like in nature, I have to survive this way. Here's another one. I've sat out there long enough to watch raptors fly off with big snakes, writhing in their talons. You ever hear a squeal of a baby bunny being ripped apart? You look at life and go, oh my gosh, look how warm and fuzzy and soft this is. And then in order for these baby chicks over here to eat from this wonderful bird over here, that this hawk has to come over and pick up this baby rabbit that's, a couple weeks old off the ground, and while it's alive, begin ripping it apart to feed its young. And that's nature. That's the beauty of nature too. And you look at that and say, God made this. You had the choice to do whatever you want to. You could have filled the planet with coconuts and pineapples and made us all vegetarians. You could have made it so that we don't want to eat each other, but instead everything lives off of other life. Doesn't that make you question what God's motives are, if there is a God? Most people, given an opportunity, would not do something like that. Think about it. If you were creating, would you say, okay, now I'm going to make it in such a way that all of the big animals have to kill all of the baby animals in order to eat? And it's going to be painful, and they're going to want to escape. They're going to try whatever they can to get away, and it's going to be painful, but it's not going to work. They're still going to get caught. They're going to be terrorized. They're going to be consumed and eaten. Question. If God made animals after making man and then gave man dominion over the animals, how come he didn't hardwire in that the animals should not eat man? People don't go outside and look at nature. They don't see what's going on. They don't think about that. Oh, look, the beauty of life. Turn away just before. Oh, yeah, that animal survives now because he just ate those babies. We sanitize our exposure to nature. There's no shortage of videos where you can find chimpanzees in a group hungry. Okay, we get the monkeys. We catch one, finally corner them out of a tree. We start ripping it apart limb by limb and sharing its body parts to eat. That's how life works. Don't get me wrong, I don't go after these videos, but I've watched a number of these videos to understand and to try and make the argument. I watched one where an elephant was taken down by a pride of lions. And the BBC filmed it. They filmed it through. They let it run. And boy, it'd shake you up to watch that. And that happens out there all the time. That's how they survive. God make that? Why did he give them forks and spoons and plates? Yeah, people are not thinking. Okay, what else? These are the kind of things you look at in your own mind and go, I don't need anybody to tell me whether evolution is right or wrong. You can look at things and go, wow, I experience and I feel and I see things that give me pause. I don't need to hear what anybody says. I can see what the hell's going on and I can think it through and realize this is a fixed terrarium. You know, I kind of go on about that idea of learning to be from, live from your higher self. It's actually an easy thing to do when you practice and practice and practice it. And at some point you can just imagine yourself looking at planet Earth from space, very easily detached from what is going on and observe humanity without being a part of humanity. That's what makes this so valuable. You can kind of see a human trend instead of being a part of a wave that you can't see beyond. It's the bigger perspective from which to look at things from. At any rate, the realization that that is a terrarium down there, that it is life itself, that this is a ball of life, that it is supporting life, that life is emergent. Planet Earth was born at some point in time, and within it, there's lots of life. It continues to give life. And we're a part of that. It emerged from the cosmos. We emerged from it. We treat life when we're down there as if somehow all of that was given to us instead of understanding that we are emergent from it and that we need to be caring for our source and not... Well, anyway, yeah, evolution is something that we needed to do to emerge. It was an important thing, but evolution is what is actually driving us through our terrarium right now. We don't need to keep filling it, but what you see is, baby engines in place, productions, you cannot get an abortion. And then the same people will turn around and say, I don't want to have any social programs. You need to get a job, get those homeless people out of here. They don't have any conceptual idea of cause and effect when it comes to something like that. And then we're stepping back, looking at it, going, what's going on down there? These guys are still acting like they need to emerge when they emerged. This is still in place. It's out of control. Yeah, that's what you see happening. On a global scale, you can see a significant part of humanity and human thinking that has to do with just, continue to produce, continue to create, continue to procreate. It varies in the world, but the problems that we're having in the U.S. that I see that come from the group that is saying, abortions are off the table. Yeah, you should not be having abortions, are the same people that even though they would take care of their own group, won't take care of the people that are being born. They don't want you to be on a social program. They'll jail you in a heartbeat. They don't care what happens to you. If you become homeless and live down the street, they want you arrested and out of there. So it seems like they want life to happen, but then they don't really care what happens to that life. While there are other people that say, we care so much about life that we need to slow down what we're doing. We're putting too much hurt out there all the time. We continue to create hurt. Can't we figure out something else? Anyway, well, you know what? Honestly, I see evolution then as a two-edged sword. Without it, we would not have emerged and become what we are today. But with it still in place, we are going to just shoot right through this. We're not going to be able to stop and figure it out. We need to reach for more and more to the point that we reach beyond our capacity to exist. We don't pay attention. I know that sounds kind of vague. It's I guess my point is that it looks like evolution has always been there. It still is. And that unrecognized, it's actually going to turn from something that once we needed for survival to something that, or at least not understand better. But it takes an acceptance. And when people deny it, what are you going to do? How can you fix what you can't see? What you won't look at? Well, anyway, these are not the fun videos. I should stick to the template material, huh? I'm going to do one on forgiveness because I've had some realizations on that. Seriously, good ones, I think. Forgiveness is a bad term. I'll get onto that video next because I think it's important. Then I'll get back to the template material. I need to get back to the structure. What I'm teaching here is what we're learning from the template material. People back then knew something that we seem to have lost. I'm sure it's still there. People know this. I know it. We just can't reach them. Anyway, all right. Love one another. I'll see you in the next video.